Hi guys, Kevin Ellis Jr. here with the Apex Racing Academy with this track guide for Road America and the Porsche Cup car. So just to start off guys, down towards turn 1, your first point of reference is going to be these 4 cones on the left hand side. So it's only going to be down into 4th gear for turn 1, you don't need to downshift an awful lot. It's just, you can use 3rd if you want to, but personally I find 4th just sort of pushes the car through the corner and allows you to keep the speed up a little bit, so you just might need to use a little bit more brake since you haven't got the engine brake in a 3rd. So as you come into here, you can see we start braking just before the 4, so more realistic right around here, but the four cones is where you're looking for reference, and just keeping it as far to the left hand side as you can. You can see just how close we are to the grass here as we come in, and as I say, down into 4th gear. And as you turn in, you want to sort of match the trajectory of the grass, or the angle of the grass on the inside. You know, a lot of guys are going to be tempted to turn in, like start coming away from the curb around here and try and get a late apex, but you're giving up like a tenth and a half just by not attacking the apex. So be nice and aggressive to the inside of the apex right here. You can see how close we're going to get to the grass on the inside. So as we come in, we just meet the curb really nice and early, still in 4th gear, and then pick up the throttle basically straight away as soon as you get to that curb on the inside. Run 4th, and then just kind of patient on the application, because obviously if you get straight to 100% here, it's going to understeer. You can see we've got quite a lot of steering lock in it, and then as we can see the angle of the corner, you know, it really tightens up on exit here. It looks quite inviting from here. You think it's going to open right up, but then right as soon as you get to exit, it really does tighten up. So into here, once we can see that the car's settled off the curb and the line is right, then we can get to full throttle, and then feel free to use all of this grey stuff on the outside here. There's no off track for this as long as you get back in before this dirt starts just ahead of us here. As long as you get back on before this, you should be absolutely fine. But you can see here, we're back on the track, just dipping the left hand wheels into the grass as we merge back on. But yeah, no off track for that. Down towards what I would call turn 2, but this is actually numbered turn 3. You're essentially looking, obviously the 2 board are way off to the left hand side here, but from inside the car, as you're driving, you can't really see that. So we're more looking at this kind of line here, and it's essentially making sure we're almost the threshold as we come over the top of it. It's quite an awkward braking zone because if you brake on the white line, it's too late. But if you try and brake in line with this wall, it's way too early. So it's somewhere in the middle. It's more just kind of muscle memory and getting used to it, but essentially make sure that you're already on the brakes before you get to this line here. You know, as I say, there's not really many references even if you look from outside the car. You know, we're beginning to apply brake as we pass the wall, so braking on the wall is a bit too late. Sorry, a bit too early, and as I say, braking on the line is a bit too late. But down into 3rd gear for this corner, trailing the whole way in, and similar to turn 1, you want to take quite a nice and shallow line in here, match the line of the grass on the inside. And again, same as turn 1 as well. Space as soon as you get to the curb on the inside, you're picking up the throttle. There's a long straight coming up after this corner, so you want to make sure that, again, you are nice and early to the power. And then, so you get just over 90 degrees of lock, and we're keeping the throttle kind of the same. Like, we're quite aggressive up to 40-50%, and then we're just going to hold it until we can see the trajectory of the car, make sure that the line is correct, and then you can see open up the lock and apply full throttle. And again, utilize all of this on the outside that you can. Again, no off track for that as long as you get back on before the dirt. Which you can see here, we were pretty close to the off track there, but we got away with that. And then hopefully line a pass down the straight. Then as soon as you come into here, again, a bit of an awkward braking zone, so I'm looking more for like the change of dirt, or the change of colour from grass to dust. Is when we start applying the brakes, and essentially as we come past this 3 board on the right hand side, we're near enough at threshold. But this is a very slow to threshold braking zone. It's quite easy to just randomly lock an inside front. It seems quite uneven. But you know, if you watch the 3 board as we pass it, we're at threshold, and we're just going to hold that threshold the full way. And then, as you see on entry, moving over here just to open up the 90 degree left that's coming up again. There's no off track for this. I think as soon as you go all 4 wheels over the curb, that's when you're going to pick up an off track. But right here, you can quite comfortably get away with opening that up. Now, it is possible to lock an inside front. It is quite bumpy out here, so you do actually want to move over quite late. You don't want to be, you know, like way over here, just aiming for the outside. As soon as you pass the dust, you can see we're sort of gradually moving over, and as we come past the 1, we've still got the wheels straight, so the left hand wheels are almost on the red and yellow, and then we turn in 2nd gear, aiming for the apex, and then pick up the throttle nice and early as soon as we hit the apex there. Big chunk of lock right in the middle of the corner, and then yeah, pick up the throttle just before you get to the apex. Obviously the apex is right around here, and we're already picking up the throttle and really powering through that apex to get a good run off. And then again, similar to turns 1 and 3, utilize all this on the exit. No off track for this out here. Use the runoff, make use of it, and it should gain you a good few hundreds. Now into a really awkward corner on this circuit. Again, pretty barren of braking markers. There's not really much you can use. I guess the best sort of easy reference is this bright red boards on the right hand side. Essentially, as soon as they start going out of shot is your most realistic option. That's all I could really use. I didn't really find anything that felt more natural. There's no real marks on the track. It's pretty bare. The grass is nice and green. It's freshly cut. There's no weird marks in it that we can use. So I ended up just resorting to these red radical signs on the right hand side, and essentially nice and slow to threshold, down to second gear. You can use third for this corner as well if you like, but I just felt like I could get some better rotation in second and a bit more punch on power. And now into here you can see as well, like we're slightly slow on entry, because if you look at how little brake I have on right around here, if you brake too early for a lot of corners before you get to apex, you're sort of left with not a lot to do. That's why braking so late and picking up throttle so early is so efficient, is because there's never any downtime in the car. You always want to be trailing as much as you can as late in the corner. If you're finding yourself in the middle of the corner having to pick up throttle then lift off again, chances are you're probably going too slow into the corner. So into here, maybe just a few Ks too slow, and then we turn in and give it a big chunk of throttle and lock right on the apex, and then again utilising this on the outside. This circuit's quite nice for that. Road America's with this new rescan. It's really nice for having these nice lenient runoffs that are, they're nice and smooth. You can run on them without any weird bumps or any weird losses of grip. So overall, the circuit has quite a nice flow to it, in my opinion. So as I said, to here as far to the right as you can in second gear, and then really pick up the throttle here. You can short shift to third as well, and then utilise this kerbing on the outside. Now into this little kink as well, quite an awkward corner. I essentially use this mark in the road right here as my sort of lift off / brake point. You do need just a little dab of brake, I found, and you'll see what happens on exit here. Was we try to make the absolute most of the kerbing that they gave us on the outside. So as you can see, it's close to the grass on the left hand side, and then as we come over that mark in the road, you can see we're lifting off a throttle. Just a little dab of brake again, it's very little, and then off the brake and then back to throttle as you get to the start of this kerb on the right hand side. This is sort of my reference. So as you come into here, you're aiming for the grass on the left, brake and lift at this, and then as soon as the front of your car is in line with the start of this kerb, pick the throttle back up, and then just try and power through the corner as best you can. You can see we caught the bump on the inside, the car sort of tracked straight there. You can see we've got rotation, we're turning, hit the kerb, sort of plough straight a little bit. Then on exit here, we've got all this kerbing we can use, and we make every last inch of it. You can see out onto the grass as well, we lost probably about half a tenth, just with catching that bump right to the exit. It was fine until about here, and then we caught that bump on exit, and that just cost us around about half a tenth. But all that was just me actually going a little bit too slow, and that's the car ended up turning in a fair bit better than we thought, and we just clipped the grass on the inside and it just pushed the car slightly. So looking at this in review, I could have carried an extra little bit of speed through here, but for me to hook up the rest of the lap like I did on this lap, then I would have been here for a long time just trying to fix one corner and still match the rest. So then down into the next left, we're looking at these sort of marks in the grass here. You can see the grass is kind of nice and close to the white line, and then up here it's sort of a big patch of tarmac where the grass should be. I'm basically braking right at the start of that. You can see we're braking here, right at the start of the of this patchy grass, and then down into second gear for this. So you can try and use the kerbing on the outside, but the car was sort of moving around quite a lot in this braking zone. So we've got quite a lot of brake threshold in it as well, so that sometimes causes the car to almost wobble in the braking zone. So just be aware of that. But yeah, we are in second gear, trailing in towards the apex, and then if you look closely, you can see that the kerb is sort of cambered down the way. So it's absolutely vital that you get your left hand wheels as close to this grass and then say catch that camber. It will pull the car around the corner, it will do a lot of the turning for you. And then if you combine that with getting to throttle nice and early, you can get a nice run off the corner and still get that rotation. A lot of times if you pick up throttle too early, the car is inclined to understeer. Right here, if you're picking it up in this big bit of camber, it's really going to turn the car, which you can see as it lands there, it turns. And then again, you can use this kerbing on the outside. We don't really need to really use a lot of it here in this corner because it's such a late apex that we're taking. just the way we angle the corner, we don't really need to use an awful lot of this. You don't really want to be out here until right at the end of it, and then you start pulling yourself back across to the left. So into the carousel, you want to drive it in as deep as you can, so that you've just got a little bit of brake in the middle, and then you can just power off in one continuous motion. So you drive, accelerate in, little brake in the middle, and then just nice smooth throttle application on the exit. If you start braking here, you're going to have to start accelerating in the middle of the corner, then have to brake again, and then accelerate again. So into here, you want to try and make it one continuous, accelerate in, brake middle, accelerate exit, rather than brake, accelerate, brake, accelerate. So as we come in here, we just start lifting as we come into the bridge. The car doesn't quite have enough grip to keep it flat in here, so it's a kind of gradual throttle decrease as we come into the corner. And then right as we get to these marks on the inside of the track, this is more of our sort of complete lift off and brake point, which you can see here. We start getting to this patchy grass on the inside, which is similar just to the previous corner. And you see as we get to that, a little bit of brake in. And you want to keep it quite tight. You don't want to be all the way out here. You want to try and keep it to the right hand side of the middle of the circuit. You see even here we're a little bit wide. You can take it just a little bit tighter than this. But as you can see, it's a very little amount of brake. It's just enough just to kind of scrub some speed off, get some weight over the front tires, and get some rotation in. And then as this starts to come into view, go a little bit further in the corner, you can see this patchy grass starts again. We're basically picking up throttle just as that comes into shot. Like the whole way through this corner, we're looking for that. You see it pop up. We've picked the throttle up, and then it's just a case of modulating. You can't quite go back to 100%, because if you do, you're either going to go too wide off the track, or it's just going to spin on you. But you see we bring it back in nice and tight on exit, so you want to diamond this corner as well. And we're just kind of modulating throttle the full way through, keeping tight to the curb on the inside, and then right as we get to the end of the red and yellow, if you've got this line, if you're nice and tight to the inside here, and get to full throttle where this coloured curb ends, you should be absolutely fine. And then again, they're quite nice. They put a big chunk of curbing out here that we can use. Head into the kink, one of the scariest corners on the track. As you come in here, you're looking for the one board, and essentially you turn in and brake at the same time. Again, we're in 5th gear for this, so we just lift off, slight dab of brake, and then as soon as the front of the car gets to the start of this curb, it's almost straight 0 to 100. Now you don't want to slam it as quick as you can. You do want to be quite progressive with it, because the inside rear can spin up and you get a big snap of oversteer, but you do want to make it quite a brisk application. You can see here it's not like a just instant slam, but it's pretty brisk, to get from 0 to 100. And again, just clipping the curb on the inside, don't get all over it. Right up towards the grass, you can see we're quite close on entry, but we're not taking a huge chunk of it on exit. And then, as we come off the curb and on exit, we're utilising all this track on the outside. A little brush of the grass there, but no real time lost. The time that we gained from carrying through the corner outweighed the 100th or 2 that you might have lost just from brushing the grass. So yeah, it's quite a basic corner. It's just about commitment really, and about bravery. Making sure that you're confident enough in 5th gear just to have a little dab of brake at the 1, and then as you get to the start of that curb, just a brisk pick up to 100%. Then down towards Canada Corner, we're looking at the 4 board on the left hand side, and again as slow to threshold as you can manage into here. If you're too quick, you're going to lock an inside front. So you see we pass the 4, nice and slow to threshold. We're going to come down into 2nd gear, and you want to turn in quite early for Canada Corner. It's quite tempting to turn in quite late, but you can see we're already beginning to angle ourselves in towards the corner, aiming to apex right where this dirt is on the inside, and then nice and early back to throttle as well, making sure that we're back to power well before this change in tarmac here. See we're here, and we're already picking up the throttle. So again, you can use a lot of the curbing on the outside. A little short shift up into 3rd as possible as well. Just want to double check. Alright, sorry, we actually kept that in 3rd. My apologies. I'm forgetting how fast we're going into the corner. So you keep this one in 3rd actually, and then you can be nice and aggressive back to power, and then this will allow you to be to keep the throttle up and without any kind of wheel spin. Then utilising the curbing on the outside. See, we're going to use all of this, and then just skimming the grass on the way past doesn't really lose you too much. Into this left-hander then, you want to keep your right-hand wheels on the curb and just to open up as much as you can. You see how close you are to the grass here. And then into this corner, we're in 4th gear. I'm just going to leave it in 4th. A little dab of brake, but it is uphill, so you don't need to use an awful lot whatsoever. It's just enough just to get some weight over the front. scrub just a few Ks off. You can see we're maybe 10, 12 Ks off, and then a big pick up of throttle right before you get to that apex. You can see we're picking it up way back here to really power through the corner and carry the speed on exit. You see we come through here, a lot of lock, just a little bit of modulation at the end there, and you can extend right out over this on the right hand side. Keeping it in force, skimming the limiter just a little bit, and then right as you come into this change of tarmac or this white line on the left hand side, whichever one you really prefer, start braking and brake in a straight line. So as you come out this left hander, don't try and get all the way back over to the left hand side, just keep it in the middle, and then that allows you to brake in a straight line here, down towards third gear, and then into the last corner. You can see we start aiming in towards the grass on the inside, so we have to kind of turn out of it. But we actually carried a lot of good speed in, and also you can see how early we're going to pick up throttle as well before the apex. Again, long front straight, and it's uphill. You want to carry as much speed as you can. Really powering through the apex, a little dip in the middle just to make sure we didn't clip the grass, and then back to full throttle, and then we're going to utilise all of that kerbing on the outside. You see nice and close to the kerbing on the outside, picking up the throttle really early, power through the apex, just brushing the grass ever so slightly, but we got away with that, and then full throttle out to the kerbing on the outside, bring it back onto the track before the grass, and then up towards the start finish line. So with that, guys, that is a lap of Road America. Hopefully you found this informative and useful. As always, any kind of questions, you feel free to ask us in the Apex Racing Academy Discord. We'll get back to you with our answers in there. But with that, guys, the best of luck this week, and we'll catch you back here next week.